Hi everybody!
The experiment of sitting in this room and recording in 4K continues. Let me know down below if you like it or if you prefer me to be out there. Welcome back to Reading for Idiots, and there is just no way I can review today's book, spoiler or not, because it would just be like reviewing somebody's diary. I could say that it's beautifully written, it's well thought out, it's moving, and for sure, it's all of those things. But whether Sun and Steel by Mishima Yukio is those things or not does not change what the book is. It doesn't change the nature of the book. The book is a philosophical apology for his position regarding life. It is a principled and rational explanation, justification, defense of his position regarding life and, by extension, what he ended up doing. And it's fucking fascinating. So I am just going to tell you who he is and what he did. This is
Death as Performance. Like, share, subscribe.
On the morning of November 25th, 1970, having just completed the last little bit of his magisterial The Sea of Fertility, Hojo no Umi, Mishima Yukio and 4 members of his private militia, yes, you heard that right, Mishima Yukio and his private militia, 4 members of them, they staged an absolutely bonkers coup. An author and 4 members of his private militia staged a coup d'etat that ended in the author's death. Mishima Yukio had arranged to meet General Mashita Kanetoshi, commander of the Eastern Army of Japan, at the Japan Self-Defense League in Tokyo. And if all this is not bonkers already, just absurd already, Mishima Yukio was carrying an attaché case and an ancient samurai sword, of course. Mishima Yukio and 4 members of his private militia, they exchanged pleasantries with General Kanetoshi. After that's done, they overpower the general. They hold him hostage and they demand the general summon the soldiers stationed at the garrison, which is about 1,000 soldiers. They demand that he summon them into the courtyard beneath the general's office. Mishima's goal was to inspire these soldiers to rise up against the post-war Japanese government, to overthrow the Japanese democratic constitution, and to restore the emperor to his pre-war position of divine authority. Mishima was dressed in the brown uniform of his private militia, called Takenokai, by the way. The militia is called Takenokai, not the brown uniform. So he's dressed in the brown uniform of Takenokai, and around his forehead is a white headband upon which is the symbol of the rising sun. So he's wearing this and he steps out onto the balcony and he begins to read his manifesto to the thousands of soldiers in the courtyard down below. The soldiers, though, they just laughed at him. They mocked him. They jeered him, and crestfallen, Mishima retreats from the balcony back into the general's office, and he begins to take off most of his clothes and his watch. He and his acolytes then begin to lay the stage for Mishima's final act, his premeditated and carefully choreographed final act. Mishima kneels down, he picks up a foot-long dagger and he drives it into his stomach. Standing behind Mishima is a 25-year-old Morita Masakatsu. And Morita's role, Morita has been tasked with severing Mishima's head in accordance with the ancient traditional samurai ritual of seppuku. And after Morita completed his grisly act, he perished in the same way. Human life is limited, but I would like to live forever. So read the note that Mishima left on his desk that morning before he left his home for the last time on November 25th, 1970. This was a man who was touted as a potential Nobel Prize winner. He was one of Japan's most acclaimed and celebrated novelists, writers, and he was known for his seductive and floral prose. Mishima Yukio was born Hiraoka Kimitake in 1925 in Tokyo. By all accounts, like almost every great writer, he was a child prodigy. He began writing poetry at the age of 6, and in his teens, he started taking inspiration from Western writers like Rainer Maria Rilke and Oscar Wilde. And by the time he had matriculated into the prestigious University of Tokyo to read law, he had already composed thousands of poems and several works of short prose. After graduating, he worked for the government for a bit before his literary career began in earnest with the publication of Hanazakari no Mori, A Forest in Bloom, in 1944, and it's a collection of short stories. In 1948, he published his first novel, Tozoku, Thieves, which featured an introduction from Mishima's champion and sponsor, Kawabata Yasunari. I reviewed his Snow Country. I'll put a link to it down below. Kawabata was the first, or actually is the first Japanese author to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. So you can see why Mishima was touted as a potential Nobel Literature Prize winner, right? But it was in 1949 when he published his novel Kamen no Kokuhaku, Confessions of a Mask, that Mishima was just catapulted into literary superstardom. And he was one of those authors who just had an insatiable curiosity. His work spans almost every genre, like fiction, drama, poetry, autobiography, criticism. Sun and Steel is like a mixture of autobiography and criticism and poetry. Anyway, he also he didn't dabble. He also made films and music. Plus, he was way into martial arts and bodybuilding. He inspired artists like Paul Schrader, who's the guy that wrote Taxi Driver, Richie Edwards of the Manic Street Preachers, and most notably, David Bowie. And these guys were all drawn to Mishima's finely wrought and transgressive explorations of beauty and violence and eroticism and death. David Bowie in particular was heavily influenced by Mishima's performative approach to art and living, existence, performative approach to life. He even name-checked Mishima in his song called No Game Number 1. And famously, David Bowie slept under a massive painting of the author that he painted himself. So, if you want to know why a novelist had a private militia and tried to stage a coup to overthrow the post-war Japanese government, tear up its democratic constitution, and reinstate a god emperor, then you gotta read this book, man. It's only we. We'll finish it in an afternoon. Also, It's beautifully written. It's moving. It's like poetry. It's well thought out. Yada, yada, yada. And the translator does a really good job. What else do I normally say?
We are very simple people with very small penis.
The Japanese have a way of writing and expressing themselves that is very Japanese, and nobody else can do it. Only the Japanese can do it. And oh yeah, it's a book about everything and nothing, or nothing and everything. That has got to be Reading for Idiots' first inside joke, because I literally say that about every Japanese book. Thank you for watching to the end. Seppuku that like button, share this video with your church group, and subscribe to hear me treat more sensitive and delicate topics with irreverence, charmless irreverence, and go apeshit down in the comments down below and bring some chaos to this tame world of BookTube.
Like, share, subscribe.